Good morning. Now, the other night, I watched a movie called The Age of Adeline. It tells the story of a woman who never grows old. For decades, she stays exactly the same, even as her child and grandchildren and generations beyond grow old and die. Now, after the movie was over, I wondered what it would be like to have a conversation with my own great-great-grandchildren. After a while, I realized that such a conversation would actually be quite embarrassing for me. In fact, it would probably sound something like this. My dear future generations, I am sorry. I'm sorry for landing you in this mess. I'm sorry for using up our country's natural resources, digging them up, cutting them down, and selling them off to the lowest bidder in exchange for a fistful of cedis in our back pockets. I'm sorry for not putting away that fistful of cedis so that it could grow and multiply for you to benefit from when your time came. I'm sorry for electing leaders who could hardly manage the present, let alone plan for the future. With my vote, I erased any hope of achieving your potential and assured your continued global comparative disadvantage. I'm sorry for idly looking on as our leaders borrowed billions of dollars in your name, thereby guaranteeing that you would all be born into debt and poverty. I'm sorry for selling off our land and building haphazardly on what was left, not thinking about you or the chaotic cities we were building for you to inherit. I'm sorry for pretending to fight corruption. The time we wasted patching it up instead of resolving it permanently set our nation's development back several decades. You inherited a nation that is far behind where it should be. And that is our fault. Us and those before us. I'm sorry that we deliberately kept our institutions weak so that we could exploit them for our personal gain and get away with it. I'm sorry we stood idly by and never questioned those negative aspects of our culture that kept us traveling backwards away from progress. We should have said enough. We should have said, nobody else does things this way anymore. We should have said, we can only move forward by trying something different. But we kept our mouths shut and went along with it, even though it made no sense to us. I'm sorry we did nothing to solve our problems and left them to fester and grow into the crises that you are having to deal with today. I'm sorry for polluting our water, spoiling our children, diluting our culture, lying, cheating, and stealing your future from you, even before you were born. I'm sorry we failed to plan for you, squandered your birthright, and left you an inheritance of debt, defeat, and disappointment. I'm sorry we weren't better. I'm sorry we weren't our very best for your sake. I'm truly sorry. Now, I wonder whether they would forgive this long list of wrongs. If we are lucky, maybe they would. But to be honest, why should we wait to find out? If after having this morning's glimpse into the future, we do nothing to change our ways, if after imagining this embarrassing conversation with our descendants, we do nothing to right the colossal wrong that we have been perpetrating against them, that they will not forgive. My name is Kojo Youngster, and I may never meet my descendants, but I must make sure they never consider me an apology of an ancestor. Good morning, Ghana.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita Sibidi. Now, in our first story, the minority in Parliament wants government to act swiftly to halt the increasing number of positive COVID-19 cases being recorded at the Kotoka International Airport. Ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Kobina Minta Akando, attributes the alarming rates to poor testing or fake results from the travellers. He also cautioned against asking COVID-19 patients to self-quarantine, arguing it could contribute to a spike in the cases. The Member of Parliament for Osel, who is asking government to consider travel restrictions on countries currently experiencing high COVID-19 infections, insists government must shut down the airport should the trend persist.
If you recall, we started recording cases, I think about 2 cases from that same Kotoka International Airport, and that has brought us this far. You know, the virus is an important one. It's not, the COVID-19 disease is not, a Ghanaian disease. It was imported. And therefore, there's a need for us to check our various borders. That is one of the precautions we must not joke with. And so constantly there has been this test at the Kotoka International Airport, irrespective of where you are coming from. And we have realized, and we are picking information that within the last week, there's an alarming rate of increase in the number of positive cases. I mean, within a day, they could record as many as 75 cases within the day. And if you record 75 cases and you let them go out there, the multiplying effect is huge. And that's why we are drawing government's attention that, look, the rate at which they are recording the cases, the positive cases, we need to do something about it urgently.
What is the something?
Number one, we need to ask certain questions. Number one, before you are allowed to travel, you need to do the test, and then you submit the results at your destination. Now, people come, they submit their negative results at their destination, and they are tested again, and they turn positive. So what could happen? Is it the case that they were infected through, their transit? Or is it the case that we must doubt the authenticity of the results they submitted from their country of origin? What could be the problem? So we must look at that carefully and then find solutions to it. Number two, if we check the trend and the increase of the number of cases is still alarming, then we must try to impose certain traveling restrictions. Even if there's the need for us to close the Kotoka International Airport again, we must do so.
So we can, government should consider.
They should consider. Let's look at the trend for the next 1 week.
The airport.
Yes, let's look at the trend for the next 1 week. If we consider the trend for the next 1 week, and in a day, for example, we are recording about 200 cases from outside the country, why would we open our borders? Why?
Its implications and its effect on the economy.
Of course, I know, but I don't think you mean the health of the people or the lives of the people are less important as compared to the economy. The economy is there to help the people live well in the country. So the people must survive before they know anything like economy. So the health of the people is paramount. It's paramount.
President Akufo-Addo is now personally leading international diplomatic efforts to bring in more vaccines to protect Ghanaians against COVID-19. That's according to Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu, who has admitted India's decision to suspend AstraZeneca exports is significantly impacting the country's inoculation plan. He was speaking to JoyNews on the sidelines of an event to mark the 11th annual African Vaccination Week in Africa. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, reports.
Ghana's vaccination program is clearly not going according to plan. Per the schedule, President Akufo-Addo and other high-ranking government officials who took their first doses on the 1st of March were required to take their second jabs today. But the Ghana Health Service was forced to extend that 8-week window to 12 weeks. Nearly 900,000 other Ghanaians who took their jabs in March face same fate. It is a result of supply challenges prompted by significant surge in cases in India, where AstraZeneca vaccines are produced. Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu admits there are serious challenges.
We have faced challenges with vaccine availability and payment structures and things like that. It is a difficult challenge. The vaccines we were expecting to be delivered by COVAX in April and May have delayed because of challenges in India. India has stopped exports, and therefore we can't have access to AstraZeneca any longer.
The WHO puts utilization of the COVID-19 vaccines delivered to West and Central Africa so far at just 26%. That provides an opportunity for countries with the capacity to take delivery of the unused vaccines and administer on its citizens. And President Akufo-Addo is himself stepping in to negotiate this. Mr. Agyeman-Manu confirms The president is already in talks with his counterparts in other countries to secure those unused vaccines.
The president is making very high-level diplomatic engagements, and we believe that may yield some results. Again, global advocacy is putting pressure on those who are sitting on some of the stocks to try to do what they are calling now as dose sharing, so that those who have the vaccines and are not using them can ship to countries that are looking seriously for them, like Ghana. They are working, and we haven't achieved any success yet, so we can't give deadlines and give predictions as to when deliveries will arrive in our country. But it will not take long.
That may be yielding some results. As UNICEF announced today, it is redistributing some 1.3 million doses of COVAX vaccines initially delivered to the Democratic Republic of Congo. The country has only used 400,000 of 1.7 million delivered to it in March, raising hopes redistribution could minimize the impact of India's supply cuts. Susie Villeneuve is UNICEF's regional advisor for health systems strengthening for West and Central Africa and has been sharing this at the Africa Vaccine Week celebration underway in Accra.
And the overall poor performance of vaccination activities in most countries requiring implementation of innovation vaccination strategy and demand generation strategy. So indeed, only 26% of COVAX vaccine supply in the West and the Southern African region has been administered so far. This is something we have to handle very carefully to see why systems are not being performing well to at least vaccinate, use the vaccine that countries are receiving. Another issue that must be mentioned is the short shelf life of AstraZeneca vaccine, so far distributed to countries, and this requires a good preparation and implementation of implementation strategies.
For now, government remains optimistic it will be able to vaccinate those who took the first jabs between May and June. And that would be an extension of the earlier dates announced by the Ghana Health Service.
Those who had the first dose, we want to try to encourage you that we will soon get vaccines to do the second dose between the 8 to 12 weeks. But the science is even talking that beyond 12 weeks, you are even better protected if you get your second jab over the 12 weeks. So people shouldn't panic. We will get vaccines to do vaccinations. Between May and June, some of these funds will flow. Government is making efforts to procure. But again, I said availability and pricing is holding us a little bit.
In the Ashanti region, one person is feared dead and two others in critical conditions after an articulated truck rolled down whilst climbing the hilly Kumasi Airport roundabout ABOABO Post Office Road. The unidentified woman jumped off a commercial bus heading towards Take Junction in an attempt to escape the accident. She, however, got crushed under the truck. Oyminteria has more in the following reports.
The accident blocked traffic flow on the airport roundabout ABOABO and Raga Junction stretch, inconveniencing commuters in the evening rush hours of Monday. Sadia Mohamed Tawfik operates a shop at ABOABO Post Office and witnessed the accident. According to her, the body of the woman served as a blockade for the rampaging truck.
I was sitting in front of a shop and suddenly I saw the articulator truck rolling down. Next to the truck was an open bus with another truck on the other side. Then I heard the mate in the bus behind asking all passengers to remain seated. Suddenly, we saw a woman trapped under the tie of the truck and another rolling on the ground. It was the body of the woman that actually blocked the truck, causing her death. The third person fell at the spot. All the injured persons have been rushed to the hospital. This spot is noted for such accidents, but this one is one of the deadliest. This is the first time I'm witnessing such a fatal accident here.
From Kumasi, Oyminteria for JoyNews.
Force 82 the first expanded the territory of Asante, but the modern-day Asantehane is promoting access to education. The institution of Otumfuo Education Fund, now Otumfuo Charity Foundation, and its achievement cannot be overemphasized. Dr. Ejak Poku is administrator of the foundation.
But for Otumfuo intervention in education, some people, especially those who rural areas, might not have gotten the opportunity to attend school. Beside the Otumfuo education scholarship, we also provide the infrastructure. We are also providing teaching and learning material.
On democracy and peace building, the Asantehane has led the brokerage of peace among political party leaders, including signing of a peace pact before every election, perhaps bringing finality to the chieftaincy disputes at Dagbon is the highest of his achievements. Chief linguist Nana Nsuasi Poku emphasized.
When he was swearing the oath, he said that he was coming to rule Asante in truth and truth and truth. And true to his word, that is what he has done ever since he was enthroned. That is 22 years ago.
The construction of a fruit processing factory, the newly developed Kejetia market, where the Asantehane released land for free and facilitated its construction, are few of the economic impacts of his reign. Preservation of the environment is one of Asantehane's focus for a sustainable future, hence the institution of Otumfuo Land Restoration Project. Otumfuo himself spoke about efforts to reclaim vegetative cover at Lake Bosomtwe.
And I've been very particularly concerned about Lake Bosomtwe also, the degradation, the 22 communities who live there. The awareness for them to appreciate that this is your livelihood and this is what will sustain you on earth and all those things. That's why I initiated the tree planting program there. Just for people to appreciate that we need to plant trees. We need to preserve our earth. And then we also have to be conscious of the climate change that is, but it's real. You can even talk about rainfall patterns that's happening now. And now we cannot predict. And farming and everything are all based on, if it is scientific formula, fine. But we used to have a rainfall pattern that could be predicted, and that's when we could even start with the farming and grazing and all those things. And it's changed dramatically.
Many anticipate more development projects under the Asante King. From the Golden Kingdom of Asante, Nana Ojima reporting.
And from here in Accra, that's how I end the AM News with me, Mapisa CBD.
Well, it's another beautiful morning. Thank you for your company. Time now for us to dig into the papers we have and let you know what's happening in Ghana and beyond. Mama, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Benjamin Akakpo. How are you?
Oh, I like the way you pronounce my name. Say it again. Say it again.
Give me some cash.
Money,
money,
a woman is never separated from her money.
No. Human beings are never separated.
No,
please.
No, I mean,
don't nail it on us. We're just humans. Yes, sir.
You remind me of a song I was listening to last night while washing. Yes, I do night washing. Have you heard that track from Sarkodie & Co. years back, Bibiba?
Oh, that's it.
No, the song is all about money. He starts with, money is the root of evil, but it's actually the love of it. But after all, our politicians, they like money. You know, you know where I'm heading.
We all like money. We all like money. We just don't want it to be the driving force, if you like, so that it clouds everything else that we do.
Some people love money.
It's not a bad thing to love money, honestly.
Well,
if you love it, you want to work hard for it.
The word of God actually says the love of money is the root of all evil. Sure. Some misconstrue that and say money is the root of all evil. No, the love of it.
Try hating money, Ben.
And that's a song. One guy says, "You figure say broken hearts be the worst thing. Why broken pocket?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you know there's a feeling when you don't have money and you're even healthy, everything like now life naya basa. But get a little money, then all of a sudden you see that Charlie, you study, like all the, you get angry at people for nothing, but you have
Oh, but listen, there are times that you actually don't have money, but if you have fuel in your car, for instance, and you have food, you actually, like, you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it. But when I say the buburo one where you don't have fuel, you don't have food, then Charlie, boys are hammering. But it's another beautiful morning. Let's dig into the papers. What do you have?
I've got the Daily Graphic newspaper, the Daily Guide, the Daily Statesman, and the Finder newspaper.
From my end, the Ghanaian Times, Business and Financial Times, the National Enquirer, and the Daily Dispatch. Okay.
Shall I begin?
Yes.
All right, here we go with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, the Volta River Authority has begun an ambitious move to drive down the cost of power in the country through innovation and digitization. The Chief Executive Officer of the authority has said, and this is all part of their 60th celebration. VRA moves to reduce power costs is the agenda.
So they actually have the theme, Generation Our Goal, Diversification, Generation Our Role, Diversification, Our Goal. So it spells out. It was interesting. I was there yesterday, and very interesting times. They spoke of how long it's been. You know, yesterday, 61 years ago, or 60 years ago, I should say, marked that landmark decision with the VRA, and then there was that act, I think, in 2005. You know, initially they were into all of it, you know, distribution, transmission, and all of that, streamlining their activities. But one thing that I recall the boss said, the CEO, that we should look at state institutions. A lot of them have gone under, but VRA, owing to its diversification, owing to its technological application, has kept growing. And I was actually proud yesterday. You know.
Okay, so I'm looking at the center spread of the newspaper, and it's all about pictures of the 60th anniversary launch. And I can see myself because the AM show was there when they launched it. This is me. Do we have the center spread?
Mama V.
Yeah.
You know what?
Can find me in the center spread.
Should I tell you? You're a star. You're a star. You got into the center spread of the Daily
celeb,
Graphic
actually.
newspaper.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Part of VRA's 60th anniversary. And you know, when they first launched the 60th anniversary celebration, I spoke to, you know, they have like a generation.
Yeah.
So you can find much older people, you know, those in the middle, and then you find really young.
Yesterday, I found it interesting when the president of the Retirees Association actually interacted. You know, it tells you it's been the contribution of myriad, you know, many people that has culminated in this.
And the interesting thing also is that they worked there for so long. Yeah. So, you know, you can find somebody who's pretty young who's been working there for like 20 years. Yeah. And that's the kind of stability that we need in our institutions, but we tax them to do a lot more. Back on the front page of the paper, police arrest 500 foreign nationals in Bolga. When we touch on the details of the story, so I'll give you a little brief. President launches $15 million fund towards AFCON 2022. On the back page, the National Labour Commission has directed the unionized workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana to withdraw their intended sit-down strike. The workers had indicated the strike was to demand for the removal of the managing director of the company, but the Labour Commission has pointed out that the workers were not resorting to the appropriate procedure. So details of that on the back page. Ghana is expected to receive another consignment of over 200,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine in May this year. We're all waiting for the second jab, which is really, really important. So we're happy about this. A lot of things happening with AstraZeneca. We know that the EU is suing them. Meanwhile, the US, they've got like a stockpile of AstraZeneca that they haven't even started using, but they say that they're going to be sharing with some other countries. That's it for the Daily Graphic, really.
Let's get into the Ghanaian Times. Senior state attorney dismissed for accepting money from witness.
And in that story, we're told that a senior state attorney at the Attorney General's office, Bolgatanga Emmanuel Otuboyson, has been dismissed for receiving money from a witness to influence a bail application in favor of an accused. Mr. Boyson was sacked after a disciplinary committee set up to investigate his conduct recommended his dismissal on grounds that his action constituted a major misconduct per Regulation 94.2. It goes on and on, but we'd like to see more of this. You remember when I spoke to Professor Stephen Ade, and he said that, look, yes, we talk about corruption in leadership, and it is there, but the public, the institutional corruption, and this is what we're talking about. So a very good move there.
But just as we see this happening within the structure, we want to see similar things happening at the very top. You know, that's when we're encouraged, because it's easy to find a small fish in there and deal with him.
In fact, it's easy to use them as guinea pigs.
Yeah.
ECG workers on sit-down strike demand removal of MD. And yesterday I tried interacting with Kwame Ajimambudu, who is the chief executive, the MD, I should say. And it was interesting because he was at the VRA event, and right there, there was that banner. He didn't want to speak. I wasn't surprised.
The banner was right there in front of the building where they also had the 60th anniversary.
Exactly.
And, you know, live when I was talking to Manuel Cranting, they pulled that banner down. It was totally conflicting with what was happening with VRA.
When I went there, it was still there. And, you know, the ECG workers had left at the time, but it was still there. And I wanted to interact with him, but he wouldn't have any of that. President Akufo-Addo rallies support for Black Stars. We're talking of those $15 million he's trying to raise. Clamp down on illegal immigrants. 507 foreigners arrested in Bolga. That's on page 3. Security man gets 31 years. Guess why? For having sex with his daughter.
31?
And he's a 38-year-old,
How old is the daughter? Security man with the Attorney General's Department in Koforidua. What? Samson Ajay has been sentenced to 31 years imprisonment for having sex with his daughter by the circuit court. And he's been sentenced to 31 years. So he's 38, he gets 31 years. By the time he's out of prison, that is if he does the entire term, he'd be 69. Do they give age of the daughter?
So the defilement, the accused pleaded not guilty to.
So this is defilement.
Charges.
It means that younger than 16.
The court presided over by Madam Marian Afo heard that in 2015, when the daughter was 14 years old, her father had sex with her after she had moved from her paternal grandmother's home to live with her father. So you see, sometimes, yes, it's a dastardly act, unthinkable, despicable, but sometimes broken homes go down, you would see some of these things. So staying with one parent alone and all of those things happening. But what's happening? Senior state attorney dismissed for accepting money. Someone with the AG's office. What's going on? These people know the law better than we do. Do you get what I'm saying? I
get it. I mean, even if they don't, I mean, they are closer to it in terms of what the institution does. See, acts like that, you can't say because you're here, so you're not capable of. Yeah. Tells you we're all capable.
Anyway, so page 4, support NCC to translate 1992 Constitution into Ghanaian languages. What do you think of that, Mama?
The Constitution again?
Yes, the same Constitution, 1992. Translated into Ghanaian language.
How many of us would read it? How many of us?
A bigger question. How many of us are able to read our local language?
What is? I mean, but the point is, well, I guess that if you go on and read it, they would probably tell us why it is important for us to read the Constitution. But the point is, those of us who can even read English, how many of us have the Constitution and how many of us read the Constitution? And for the leaders, how much of the Constitution goes into what they do every day? That is encouraging for the rest of the people to read the Constitution. Yeah. You get what I mean?
Very valid points you're raising.
It's not just translating it. There's a whole lot more that goes into it.
Of course.
I wouldn't just jump onto that call.
Sometimes they are being urged. I think it's a good thing, but of course we must practicalize it and we must see what the benefits would be to us. But in the end, too, we shouldn't just sit down. And here's another practical reality. Sometimes the translation is done, and it's just because someone is going to get some local fuel.
That's it.
Someone is going to line there. I mean, we say it as it is. People may not like it.
If you translate it and I have it in ever.
And nobody is reading.
And so what?
And the books are there in large storerooms and no one is getting them. But we did it, right? But what purpose is it serving? Middle spread, WHO urges member states to sustain local production of COVID-19 vaccines. We need to catch up as a country. That's it with the Ghanaian Times.
Let's jump into the Daily Guide newspaper, and here's what's on the front page. I feel uncomfortable just reading it as it is, so I'm just going to qualify it. Alleged Alajo coup plotters hot, bail without freedom. Details on page 3. Otumfuo clocks 22 on Golden Stool. Anyone in Galamsey is criminal. And I want to get exactly who said it, so I'll go to page 6. Apart from just Omanhene
of
Iskado traditional area, Nana Kobnan Ketia. The fourth, but the people, they don't care that you say they're criminals. If we know they're criminals, we have to punish them for the act. Otherwise, just the fact that they're criminals without any punishment means nothing to them, and they'll continue to do what they're doing. So good call, but we need just more than a call there. Kesia Jabin picked for special prosecutor. And I know that we will be having a conversation on that. There are people who are stating their opinions.
But some people have said that...
on this pick.
He's very close to the corridors of power. In fact, he is someone's lawyer. Someone's Asantehane lawyer. Who Asantehane is, but I'm not going to mention it.
Well, I saw a piece that was going around on social media, which, essentially was saying that if truly he's the one that has been picked for this job, then a group of CEOs will come together and justify why he should not be put in that position. So we'll see how that goes. For now, we know that the Attorney General, Minister for Justice, Godfrey ABOABO, has nominated private legal practitioner Kesia Jabin for the position of special prosecutor. The AG has reportedly sent a letter to the president, who is considering the government's legal advisor's nomination to replace for former Attorney General Martin Alamisi Kaiser Amidu, former special prosecutor, right? Yeah.
You missed the Burns. The paper didn't add the...
Oh, they added. I just wanted to shorten it. Who resigned as special prosecutor on November 16, 2020. I mean, everybody's related to someone or connected to someone. And if you're a lawyer, you would, it's... but of course, if we're able to prove that there's strong conflict of interest scenarios and situations, is it just mere conflict of interest, or there's a lot more before you can either recuse yourself or say that you're too close and so you should not be considered? We'll see how
we do that in this country. Do we get to the point where we feel, this role you're giving me, I feel this or that, like the judges have to recuse themselves when they even feel, even with our judges, and today I'm sorry I have to go there, or am I? That sometimes when there are issues and people feel they should recuse themselves, do they always do?
Our test is a bit different from what happens in the UK, where a mere conflict of interests means that you have to let go. Ours, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. So I guess the standard is a big...
that way? If a politician is corrupt in our part of the world, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. We don't put in place measures to make feasible, to make practical some of these matters. Everything that would inure to development, we make difficult. Look at this country, right to information law. You want basic information from this or that institution. They'll take you through hell and you must pay money and you must do all of that. Why? It's simply because we are too corrupt.
Well, so our test for the conflict of interests is almost like that of criminal cases, right? So you have to prove beyond reasonable doubts that really there is a conflict of interest situation. That's what ours is, apparently. A bit of this issue of the 10 persons, including soldiers and the police officer, rearrested last Friday and charged with high treason. and charged with high treason, beg your pardon, where am I? Are still in the custody of the National Intelligence Bureau, even though the court granted them bail on Saturday. The accused persons have reportedly not been able to satisfy the bail terms as set by the 3 justices hearing the case. And this is one of the...
That's what, to the tune of what, 18 million?
That's aha. I knew that it was going to be pretty hard. So it was one of the questions that I was asking yesterday, but now we know. But we will keep following and see how that goes. Let's see if this news one pull out in the center spread. And maybe I'll just let it go. I'll just let it slide and do the back page. President Akufo-Addo has launched a campaign to raise an amount of $15 million in support of the senior national football team, the Black Stars. This is to help their campaigns in the upcoming African Cup of Nations 2022 tournament and at least reach semifinals of the World Cup. And there are some other stories here. If you find it interesting, you can grab it. Oh, there's 2 TV commentators who made racist remarks during a Brazilian women's game on Sunday. They've been removed from their post after action by the Brazilian Football Federation.
I have 2 words for that. Good riddance. The Daily Dispatch now. Head of News Political Science Department's analysis, and he says, apart from Mahama, no other NDC person can beat Bawumia or Allen. That's what he's saying. His name, that is Dr. Samuel Edujemfi, and he has made that claim. Exploration of gold near Mole Park will not happen under my watch, Abuja Napo. Okay. What's happening to Etiwa, though? I'd like to know, Mr. Minister. Saglemi, 1,502 affordable housing project left to rot. And in August 2012, as part of moves to alleviate the housing deficit of this country, then President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, signed a $280 million deal to construct 5,000 housing units at Saglemi in the Ningo Pram district. And that is what they are talking about. If you've passed by, if you've used that route in recent times, you'd see that, well, not much is happening there. But I always say, whether those initiated by Kufuor, those initiated by Mahama, or those being initiated now, it is our taxpayers' money. Why leave them to rot? If you think there's corruption in there, deal with the corruption. But when they rot, who benefits? Nobody. Just to make a point. Anyway, so that's it with the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
Let's do the Finder. And the Finder says major shakeup at GIS. That's the Ghana Immigration Service. 24 senior officers transferred, some reassigned. I'm looking at ACI Francis Pamdeti, who is a personal friend. And I'm interested in going to dig where they've put him now, or where they've reassigned him to.
A big woman.
Hey. G-Money customers hit 1 million. What's that? What's G-Money?
So it's one of those, I think it's Ghana Commercial, GCB Bank, I should say. Yeah. So that's
okay.
It's one of the money platforms.
So 1 millionth customer. Okay. All right. Election-related debts have tainted Ghana's democratic image. That's according to Ibn Chambers. There's a conversation among stakeholders ongoing, and this is on being, should I say, organized, but there's been series of that. There was a CDD carried one last week, and they're continuing another conversation, which is a 3 days stakeholder conversation. Also, that's where this is coming from. ECG staff demonstrate against managing director. And on this issue of the ECG, I would love for the board to also speak, because, you know, the workers, that resolution that they reached, they sent it to the board, where they give them the ultimatum of last Friday. It will be good for the board to also come out. We just heard one side, which is the union, talking about why their MD is not competent. And we would like to also hear from the board whether or not, you know, he's doing his job. Because sometimes when you are effectively doing your job, we know that some people will be unhappy with you and they can come up with all sorts of things, you know, for your removal. So it would be good to hear from the other side as well. We are the people. We don't work closely with Mr. Budu, right? So we may not know if he's competent or not. It's the workers and the board that would know. So it would be good to also hear from them, apart from the other side saying that the action taken by the workers is illegal, and so they must not continue with their sit-down strike. We need to bring proper closure to this matter.
Well, we have precious little time left, so I'm just going to do a few of these. Concerted approach needed to implement electoral reform. That's according to Ibn Chambers, I should say. Mahama planning to scuttle free SHS stories, deliberately concocted lies. That's according to Bara Mokhtari, Business and Financial Times. VRA bets on technology, innovation to drive down power generation cost. And just to sneak in, those 507 illegal immigrants arrested, that was in the Bolgatanga municipality of the Upper East on Sunday. It was by a combined team of the police, Ghana Immigration Service, and National Security. But something you missed from the Daily Guide, they say he's British, but he's Ugandan as well. Daniel Kuluya. He was, Okabi in Black Panther, and he's in Nomadland.
So you're talking about the Oscars?
Yes.
Okay.
He bagged an Oscar, and I'm happy for him. Very happy for him.
Yeah, I am as well. I have a little request, even though we have very little time, and I'd like my producer to pull out some beautiful pictures of Manuel Kranting.
Is it his special day?
It is his birthday today.
Oh,
and so before we wrap up, I want to show some love. Yeah.
Can we dig into some of those pictures when he was looking like something? Let's bring up some of them.
Echo, it's not a throwback Thursday. It's the young man's birthday. I want
No, it's actually a Tuesday, so throwback Tuesday.
No, beautiful pictures of Manuel Kranting, who has a crush on me, by the way. Okay, let's do myjoyonline.com. I told him he's too young. He's too young.
I lost enter the studio.
No, you leave the studio. Let's do myjoyonline.com whilst, we wait to say happy birthday to our colleague Manuel Kranting. He's such a fantastic guy. It's his birthday today. Cole, I need pictures of Manuel Kranting. So that's myjoyonline.com. Kisia being too young for special prosecutor role, according to former Member of Parliament Inusa Fuseni.
Ayo.
You can read his thoughts there on myjoyonline.com if you can. Then I don't have my extra eye, so you've got to read the rest.
Okay, so let's do the rest of them. I do see, let's put in quick measures at KIA, a delay likely to cause third COVID-19 wave. That's according to a virologist. Check out details from there. Then third wave of COVID-19, there is no real cause for alarm. Health experts saying that ECG workers must channel grievances through appropriate quarters. That's according to the Labour Commission. And GES releases reopening and vacation dates for SHS. Two more stories and we shall wrap up. Ghana to receive COVID-19 vaccines from UNICEF. And how much is your eyebrow pencil? Sam George asks Ursula Wusu-Ekufo over Airtel Tigo acquisition. That thing, there's been a back and forth and on social media. So the Communications and Digitalization Minister posts, and then Sam Jatta, and he says, when we haul you before Parliament, then you'll see. I am waiting for how this will, climax. We'll see how the chips fall.
Just a little updates, and we know that sometimes we talk about murders that have happened and ask the question as to what is happening. So just a little update. Yesterday, the trial of the former Member of Parliament, JB Dankwa Edu, started. When I say the trial started, well, the man accused of killing Mr. JB Dankwa Edu, then Member of Parliament for ABOABO North, commenced at the Accra High Court on Monday, with the prosecution calling first witness, Mr. Samuel Berkon Sarkodie, the driver of the late MP, to testify. So that's where we are with that matter. We will still keep you updated. It's a...
The guy's nickname, and then Sexy Don.
It's a happy 62nd birthday to Elder Emmanuel Kisiedu, Church of Pentecost Kanishi Area Children Ministry Assistant Leader. God bless you, from your daughter Ira Ama Akwa and all your children from Kanishi area. And of course to our darling boy, the man that a lot of... Okay, I don't want to add that. But Manuel Kran saying he's a fantastic guy. Forget that the girls, you know, easily fall for him. Because he's a fine dude.
With his glasses.
It's his birthday today. So if you know Manuel, or if you find him on the streets, because, you know, sometimes he's doing a story close to you, just say happy birthday to him. He's a good guy. Happy
Manuel,
birthday,
you are
Manuel.
wanted. Why? I am looking for you. Approach me so I slap you with I slap you with some money. Just a little money. Charlie, it's time for sports. I just called all of you, Charlie, but you're buddies like that. And do stay with us as we bring you the sports news.
It is another build-up to another tournament, and the conversations have started. It's all about money. It is all about how Ghana would end its nearly 40 years failure to rule the rest of Africa. However, this time around, the focus has extended beyond the African Cup of Nations to the 2022 FIFA World Cup. And we will bring you highlights of how Leicester City is getting close to the Champions League spot, and also how much would it cost Ghana to be able to execute the plans put together by the government of Ghana. I am Muftau Nabila Ablai, and this is AM Sports on AM Show. But first, let's start from a breakfast meeting that happened at the presidency yesterday. The president of the country, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, assembled corporate bodies plus other stakeholders within the footballing fraternity to seek for support for the Black Stars, as he calls on everyone to ensure that Ghana is able to win the African Cup of Nations next year and also make it to the semi-final of the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
The last time the Black Stars brought the cup back home, the fourth occasion, was 1982, 40 years ago next year. Indeed, next year, will witness two great competitions affecting the Black Stars, one continental, the other global. The continental is the African Cup of Nations, due to take place in Cameroon at the beginning of next year. Happily, the Black Stars have qualified in grand style for the tournament. We are left with their adequate preparation. The global is the FIFA World Cup, the apex competition of world football, scheduled for June in Qatar of next year. The team has to play 8 World Cup qualifying matches, plus 2 international friendlies in Europe. The target is to bring the cup home next year by winning AFCON 2022. We have to go a step further than the second places recorded in 1992, 2010, and 2015, and bring the 40-year drought to an end. We must also reach at least the semifinals of the World Cup in Qatar. Our exploits in South Africa in 2010, where we reached the quarterfinals of the World Cup, tell us that once properly prepared, we have the quality and the talent to match any of the best teams in the world. The task might appear daunting, but it is certainly not insurmountable.
Just how much will it cost us to reach the semi-final of the 2022 FIFA World Cup and also win the next African Cup of Nations? According to the president, $25 million will be required as the country will prepare for tournaments and friendly matches in Europe.
The Ministry of Youth and Sports, working with the Ghana Football Association, needs some 25 million United States dollars to realize our objectives for these 2 major tournaments. Even before the onset of COVID-19, government would have found it difficult to raise this amount by itself. Government, however, is committed to providing 10 million United States dollars of this targeted amount. I'm aware the pandemic has wreaked havoc on all aspects of our national life, affecting revenues of government and many of you, but also resulting in increase in profits for others. We should be reminded of the fact that a successful Ghana in the world's game brings credit and renown to all Ghanaians and Ghanaian businesses and opens up even more doors for Ghanaians and their businesses. Bringing back smiles to the faces of our people is priceless, as the ripple effect will be felt in all aspects of our lives and of our respective organizations. So I'm asking all of you to contribute to raising the balance of this amount, which is 15 million United States dollars.
Now, before the 2022 African Cup of Nations and the 2023 Africa Games, there's Tokyo 2020, and that is happening later this year, just the next 2 months. Now, the Black Bombers, which is the national boxing team of the country, has started camping to put everyone in a better shape as they seek to win medals for the country.
Residential camping begins after a long wait and months of non-residential training at the Accra Sports Stadium. The arrangement, which was facilitated by the board and management of the Trust Sports Emporium in collaboration with the Ghana Amateur Boxing Federation, is expected to improve the form of the boxers very greatly ahead of the games. Suleiman Tete is the team's captain and an Olympian. He is targeting a podium finish at this year's games, and he's dreaming about great things for his career and for the nation as well. He is glad about the new camping arrangements.
It's my second Olympics that I'm going, and this time I'm going to assure you that I'm going to win a medal. I'm going to win a medal, if God permits. And for the first thing that I mean is balloting first. After I get my balloting first, I promise that I can win a medal for the Olympics game.
Samuel Techi is another of the 3 boxers who are looking forward to living their dreams and also holding it up for their nation.
I'm happy for qualifying to the Olympic Games because first, I'm not in the national team. I fight individual championship and coach called me to the national team, so I'm very happy to qualify here. First, we train at Accra Sports Stadium, but now we train at Bukom Boxing Arena. I hope God will make our preparation go and we are ready for the games.
Shakur Samer has a unique story because if he should step into the ring in Tokyo, he would have sealed his family's status as the only one to produce 3 Olympian brothers. He is one of the characters in a recent JoyNews documentary, Olympic Boxing Genes, the story of the Samers. His objective will be to win a medal, one thing his 2 elder brothers Basti and Issa were unable to do at the 2018 Beijing Olympic Games.
And I'm telling all Ghanaians that they should have hope in me. Although my brothers participated at the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games, my brother Basti Same won the first fight, but I couldn't, bring back something. So it's like a big task for me. I mean, I have to make a good name.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, something that has got a lot of people, talking. The rumor mill has been shaken. It has to do with the office of the special prosecutor, and it appears we might be having a new one. The auditor, the Attorney General, I should say, has penciled Kisia Jabing to replace Martin Amidou. Let's tell you a bit now about who exactly he is. And on this beat, we'll also be joined by Edem Senanu, who is an anti-graft campaigner. So let's do this. We're going to go to the board and actually have a bit of analysis in terms of who Kisia Jabing is. Now, he is the special prosecutor nominee, and he is chairman of the Electric Communications Tribunal after taking over from Justice Dateban, who resigned from the tribunal in the year 2019. He also happens to be managing partner of Cromwell Gray LLP, a law firm based in Accra. A lot of you would know him for his prowess in criminal law. So that is the initial information about Kisi Jabeng. Mind you, some people have said that he is too young to occupy that position, but indeed this is, his, should I say his repertoire? This is what he comes with. He also, mind you, is a lecturer at the University of Ghana. Can we go on to the next bit? So he is lecturer, as I was indicating, at the University of Ghana School of Law since October 2006. He's been teaching and researching into criminal law, international humanitarian law, international law, corporate law, and legal research and writing. So add the academic hat to him as well. Let's move on to the next one now. He won the Benchienchel Prize for Best Graduating Student at the University of Ghana School of Law in 2001, so quite a big brain there. He proceeded to the Ghana School of Law and was called to the Ghana Bar in October 2003, earning the E.N. Sowa Memorial Prize for Best Student in Family Law. Okay, so quite a bit in there by way of awards. He has a wide range of expertise, looking at the span of things he's done. He has a wide range of expertise in consulting for public sector institutions, including the AG's Department, Exim Bank Ghana Limited, the Youth Employment Authority, the National Lottery Authority, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, the Ghana Trade Fair Company Limited, and the Ghana Olympic Committee. You also know that he's represented some people famously, including, even if memory serves, Asamoah Gyan, among others. He is an associate at the African Center for Cyber Law and Cybercrime Prevention, and he is the National Moot Court Coordinator for the Commonwealth Moot Court Competition on International Criminal Justice. Like I said, a lot of you would know him more when it comes to the criminal law landscape. Do we have another slide? So he has also served as Vice Chairman of the Appeals Committee of the Ghana Football Association. So quite a personality, quite a person there, rounded in terms of the law, an academic, and someone, a practitioner, I should say. Is there another slide? Any more to share with regard to Kisi Jabeng? So quite a bit more that we can actually share from here when it comes to this gentleman. But the point to be made is that some people on the other side are saying he is far too young for this office, and some have even cited seniority in certain areas. But let's get Edem Senanu into the conversation. Edem, a very good morning to you.
Morning to you too.
It's always a pleasure having you, and thank you so much for joining us on the AM show. Let's start from here, Edem. Any surprises when you heard that Kisi Jabeng had been selected, handpicked to be the new special prosecutor? What did you? What was running through your mind when you first heard this?
Well, I think the first reaction was, "Who is that?"
Who is that? That was the first reaction. That reminds me of Fabio Gama asking, "What is that?" when it comes to Accra Hearts of Oak. But anyway, so who is that? You mean you've never heard of Kisi Jabeng?
Yeah, that was my first reaction, and so I had to start doing some background checking, and some of my lecturer friends said, well, brilliant lawyer, liberal in thinking, and what have you. But I mean, yeah, honestly speaking, the question of whether the relevant expertise as required by Act 959, 13 subclause, subsection 2 has been met, for me, would be the most fundamental issue to address.
Right. And we shall get into that. You would have to rope that in. But looking at his profile, what he's done, what he stands for, he's an academic, he's a criminal lawyer, international law. He's done so many things in there. And in the legal fraternity, he carries some respect. Do you think, looking at his profile, would you say tentatively that he is qualified for this position? What is your take on that?
Well, I think that this is certainly a high flyer, a high achiever within the gamut of things that he's already, spent some time doing. It's clear that he does have expertise. The question of whether it's relevant expertise in anti-corruption and corruption matters is one that I'm not quite certain at the moment. Despite the further and better particulars you have provided this morning, in my mind, that office was set up because there was a certain concept we had, a certain history, which was that an attorney general and minister of justice so appointed by a particular government was unlikely. Indeed, the evidence was that they were hardly able to take on board and speak truth or hold accountable their own government officials. So to have an office manned by someone who knows how to speak truth to power, has a proven track record of being able to do this, knows the fire, appreciates the heat, as Okonjo Iweala says, corruption fights you back, and knows the risks to yourself and the fact that relationships will be affected, etc. I'm not quite sure that anybody has provided sufficient information that suggests that he has that kind of expertise or experience.
Are you suggesting, Adam, that he is inexperienced? I mean, to put it into proper perspective, are you suggesting he is inexperienced? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not. I am simply saying that we all require further and better particulars as to the corruption and anti-corruption expertise of Mr. Kwesi Agyabeng. I am delighted that the government has worked within the time frame. They have 6 months, according to Act 959, to replace the SPO when the office becomes vacant. It tells us that our systems, at least in this instance, are working, and so they identified, and we're in the 5th month. I'm glad they've found someone who appears to have some qualifications. I'm just not certain that subsection 2, which talks about have the relevant expertise in corruption and anti-corruption matters, has been satisfied. And that's where I'm coming from. I'm saying we need more information to establish, does he have those credentials? Will he be able to stand the fire? And this is not something that comes easy. You need to be tough to be able to do that job. And look, you have government appointing you to hold themselves accountable. That notion and understanding of a role like that is not about knowing criminal law, teaching criminal law, or handling a few corruption cases. As we would have observed in this country, it takes much more than that.
So this experience you seem to speak of, this roundedness when it comes to anti-graft, campaigning or, experience in that regard. Now, we had our former special prosecutor, Martin Amidu. We called him citizen vigilante from the Woyome case. We called him, amicus curiae at a point in time, becoming a friend of the court. All of that. But would you say that anyone who fills that position must have that sort of expertise, extensive expertise, before they can fill the role? I mean, look at our ministries. Look at our ministries, for example. Sometimes we have people who are, so to speak, not technical in terms of those specific ministries, but they are able to perform. Is this not a similar situation?
We're not taking away from the fact that, you can pick somebody who is a medical doctor and put him somewhere, and once he has certain organizational skills, he knows how to do teamwork, he will get the results. No, we're not putting that aside. But you see, the Special Prosecutor's Office was set up with a particular goal in mind. And the thinking around it was that, look, we have an Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and yet we hardly ever see that within the tenure of a specific government, they're able to take on board officials of their government who clearly have, whether through procurement or through other fraudulent means, deprived the people of this country of resources that could have accelerated development. And that trend was evident. And so we thought have an office that is independent, that is resourced, and that has the kind of individual who is able to speak to these people and say, look, you're doing something wrong. We are going to prosecute you. We'll investigate. We'll get all the information. We'll do it by the rule. The question, the point I'm raising is that that kind of individual needs to already have a certain mindset, a certain thickness of skin, so to speak, for a better phrase of a way of putting it.
What makes you feel? What makes you feel that Kisi Ajabeng doesn't have?
You might have to bend your bridges. You're going to have to. So it's not just about being smart on interpreting the law or defending people, but it's about that posture, that leaning towards holding people accountable. And I think that's a unique space, and let's not take it for granted.
So, what is it that makes you think that he doesn't have that thick skin, basically? What makes you think that?
Well, I have not said he doesn't. I mean, you'll be turning it upside down if you said that. I said we need further and better particulars to find out when subsection 2 says that must have relevant expertise in corruption and anti-corruption. A key concern, at least for me, is that has he demonstrated in the past that he's able to do that? He's somebody who has that kind of track record, that posture of speaking truth to power. Otherwise, we may have a very difficult situation in getting the deliverables expected of the office. So I do not know for a fact that he can do it. I'm just suggesting that it would have been better for all of us if we have some understanding of how we arrived at the conclusion that he satisfies that criteria.
So as of now, just hit the nail on the head for me, Adam. You remain unconvinced as of now that he is material for the office.
That will fly. That will fly with me. I'm unconvinced. I'm uncertain.
Right.
Until I receive further and better particulars that, despite all the other achievements, and look, let's not kid ourselves. He has a lot of achievements. He does have experience that is relevant. But this is a unique space, and there's something additional, at least I am looking for.
Okay, so you're unconvinced there's something additional you're looking for. Some have also said that he may be walking too close to the corridors of power, that in fact, his closeness to certain people in government and his representation of certain personalities might create a conflict of interest, especially in the role that he has to play as someone who is going to fight graft in our system. Do you agree with that assertion?
Well, yes, it could. I mean, the extent of the relationships and the representation could. Now, I suspect that is why in subsection 2, one of the issues, the B, I think, has of proven integrity. Now, you could have represented 300 people in your lifetime as a lawyer, but the way the cases have gone and how you've stood for issues, clearly in the public space, we would have concluded that this is a person of integrity. And that's probably one of the disadvantages of picking someone younger, whom we are still trying to figure out. That is it clear when we talk about proven integrity? Because despite all lawyers can be called upon to represent people who they may not themselves want to, but the people have a right. So I don't think it's so much about the people you have represented as much as over the course of your working career, what it is that people say about you and how you have managed your dealings. So yes, it could. But if this is somebody of integrity, ultimately, there'll be a consensus agreement that people know you as being someone of integrity.
Let's clarify a bit further. Now, at the bar, seniority is crucial and it's respected and you don't cross certain lines. For you, is his age, is his youthfulness, so to speak, a problem for you?
Not really. I think that I think that young people have a lot of energy, and we can be sure that they are driven to get results and leave a legacy. I don't think that should be too much of an issue. I think what probably is the issue is the balance with experience and expertise, particularly in this space, because you just want to be sure that he's not being put there by his friends who think that, okay, he's a brilliant lawyer, he can do it, and then he'll be left to hang when critical issues come up. Look, let's not put it mildly. I mean, when Martin Amidu was speaking, it could not all have been froth with no fact. The issues, the systemic issues, the difficulties he said he grappled with, let's not belittle them in any way. And if you really want to pursue this agenda, we are all clear that, yes, it doesn't matter if the president may even feel led that I must do this and do it right. There's all kinds of cliques and groups around who have their own agenda and going to make it very difficult for him to achieve what he's been set out to do, the mandate he's been given. So you really need that kind of, I don't know how else to describe it. And that's the worry. As for being young, that's not a big issue for me.
So tell me, Adam, there were certain challenges that were faced by Martin Amidu, some of which, accounted for his resigning from that position. Have we done enough to remedy some of those challenges, or at least all of them, in anticipation of another special prosecutor? In other words, have we done what is right in preparation for a new special prosecutor so that he, in this case, can maybe fare better than the former special prosecutor?
Unfortunately, there's been a depth of information on that. In the last 5 months, the acting SPO, the deputy who's asked to act, has not provided us any updates, and the government itself has not. And you're absolutely right. It is crucial that there is an update on what has been done about the systemic issues that Mr. Amidu raised, irrespective of the fact that some will be inclined to think that, look, we are suggesting that he was exaggerating and so on and so forth. This country needs an update on what has been done. In fact, it would be good, assuming Mr. Kesia Ajabeng gets the nod of Parliament, that the baseline situation would need an update on that in terms of the logistics, in terms of the human capital and resource available to him, in terms of all the other concerns that Mr. Amidu raised. And if some of them for him he doesn't consider as relevant, that should be highlighted. I mean, it's going to be interesting because our current AG indicated that he didn't have a problem with the Ejapa deal. What position is this current SPO going to take when the previous SPO said that, look, this was the mother of all, I can't remember the phrase completely. So these are things, the baseline situation when he gets in, and I would expect more regular updates. The law gives them 6 months to report. I think that if every 3 months he gives us an update on the cases, because that's another striking thing, that in the whole tenure of this government, we haven't had a single case prosecuted to conclusion and have had a precedent set. These are major concerns for all of us.
Now, on November 16, 2020, Martin Amidu said goodbye to that office by way of his resignation, which he tendered. Now, according to Section 13(8) of the OSP Act, within 6 months, we should have the nomination of another, or at least another special prosecutor occupying that office. We are 5 months into it. If you count from December, we are 5 months into that. With all of these concerns, it would appear that Mr. President, who would have to give the final assent, would be in a bit of a tricky situation, wouldn't he? Time is running out per what the law stipulates. At the same time, a chunk of people remain unconvinced when it comes to the nominee. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I just think that the government, and I've seen that your running subtitle says, I'm unconvinced Kesia Ajabeng is best fit for the job. Well, I'm unconvinced at the moment. Let me put it in context. I'm unconvinced at the moment based on the information made available. I think government needs to do a lot more work in telling us the story about Mr. Kesia Ajabeng and how they've arrived at a conclusion that he fits the portfolio. especially in highlighting what work is done within the corruption and anti-corruption space, and also taking on board any concerns that have been raised by stakeholders regarding relationships or representation, and speaking to it clearly to deal with any potential conflict of interest issues. Because yes, usually for those of us in the space, it's not just that you're in an actual situation of conflict of interest, but you are supposed to actively avoid potential conflict of interest situations. And the question is, moving on, how will all of those be handled? So yes, these are matters that I think that if government is able to, in nominating him, highlight how they have arrived where we are, it also help even some of us who are unconvinced at this moment turn our minds and probably also say that, yeah, candidate is suitable.
Maybe to wrap up on this conversation, so if you remain unconvinced, you together with your CSO groupings, what is going to be the reaction when it comes to this proposal of Kissi Agyabeng as special prosecutor? What's going to be your reaction?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Kissi Agyabeng obviously has expertise to offer. The fact that we are not quite sure whether it fits the sufficient in the corruption, anti-corruption space is for me to say we need more information. To the extent that one can provide that information that raises our confidence, why not? I think that as a brilliant lawyer, and if he has the value systems to speak truth to power, then we obviously are going to see a new SPO who can bring some difference to the space and build on what Mr. Martin Amidu, remember, he had to build right from scratch. It's nothing on the ground from ground zero. So that probably will help make some headway in that space. As it is, would need much more information on the person himself, and we can take it from there.
Mr. Adamson Anu, always refreshing speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning. Adamson Anu is an anti-graft campaigner, and he's been sharing his thoughts on this all-important matter. We take a break. When we return, more action right here on the AM show. Do stay. Welcome back on the AM show. We now talk inoculation, and it's quite a saga developing. We're trying to find a solution to the current, discourse, to the current situation we find ourselves in terms of securing vaccines. We're joined on this conversation by Dr. Yao Bediako, immunologist, I should say, with WACBIP at the University of Ghana. Dr. Bediako, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Benjamin.
And let me just say we're immensely grateful to you. It's a very tight rope you're running this morning. Thank you so much for making the time. So let's start from here. Over 842,000 jabs have been given. When you look at our case count currently, it stands at around 1,501. What would you say have been the gains and losses in the current weeks, maybe since the last time we spoke? What do you see?
I think it's great that we vaccinated the people we have vaccinated. However, it's a very small proportion of the number that need to be vaccinated. Obviously, the biggest hindrance has been access to vaccines, which has proven to be maybe as or even more challenging than anticipated. And largely, this is driven by the outbreak, the scale of the outbreak in India, which has now meant India is no longer a viable source for vaccines for the rest of the, for us or for the rest of Africa, as had initially been anticipated. COVAX was expecting to get millions of doses of vaccines from the Serum Institute of India. That was a contract that had been established. However, that has now dried up because India is in the midst of probably the worst pandemic it has seen. In many ways, the world has seen, given the scale of the issue. And so all their vaccine production is now domestic. And so it means COVAX has no hope of getting vaccines from India. And really the only way, at least for AstraZeneca vaccine, that I think we are going to get in the near term is through surplus supplies from other countries. So the US is releasing 60 million surplus AstraZeneca vaccines. I believe there are surplus supplies in Europe as well, I think in Canada. So my hope is that either COVAX or maybe even probably a better idea, our government has to directly reach out to these countries and try to secure certain amounts of these vaccines. Expecting COVAX to deliver is a little bit, I think, risky, because right now we're not sure how COVAX is going to be able to deliver, possibly through this surplus supply. But I think we need to start working, we need to start working for ourselves and stop depending on these group initiatives. We need to start looking directly at our partners, leveraging diplomatic links with, diplomats representing these countries in our country, and see if some doses cannot be secured through bilateral agreements.
Now, some people have said, Doc, that we should ramp up local production. At least that is what they've said generally. Here, we're yet to, start any such initiative. It is something we should be looking at, addressing. Is it crucial now for us to locally produce some of these vaccines?
I mean, the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, yes, if you ask the question, does Ghana need vaccine production capacity? Definitely. But, production of vaccines is a highly technical, highly complicated process that cannot be achieved within a few months. The vaccine production development for Ghana is for the next pandemic, not for this one. So to be honest, our approach right now has to be securing vaccines where we can find them. Do we need to put in place measures that we can begin to develop our own capacity? Certainly. But that capacity will take years to develop. It cannot just be done overnight. So I think that is in my opinion, that is a secondary focus. The primary focus right now is you have 800,000 people who have received one dose of a vaccine for which they require 2 doses. And you have another almost over 19 million people who are required to be vaccinated, and by our plan, need to be vaccinated by the end of this year. Now that looks increasingly unlikely, but that is the first priority. First priority is vaccinating 20 million Ghanaians with vaccines wherever we can find them. And then once that has been done, putting in place the structures and the measures such that the next time something like this happens in the world, Ghana is much better prepared to solve, or at least to contribute to the effort locally. But I think the first priority has to be getting vaccines to people. And that is not going to be locally produced vaccine. That is going to be vaccine that we find from elsewhere.
About 842,000 vaccinated. We've taken delivery of about another 200,000 doses. Give or take, we're going to inoculate about 1 million people. That's a drop in a bucket. We need some 60 to 70% plus of the population to be vaccinated before we can even think about anything close to herd immunity. Now, some people have also spoken about the threat of a third wave. How imminent, how serious is that threat? And if we don't get things right, what could that mean for us?
Well, in my opinion, it's hard to, you don't want to be a prophet of doom. But if you look at trends over the course of this pandemic, what has happened in Ghana has mirrored what has happened elsewhere. When other countries had a second wave, we eventually had a second wave. The from our airport about the number of positive cases being detected is alarming, because, we are hit with levels that we didn't even see in December. We've hit levels that we didn't see in December. So, we don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. But certainly we should have a heightened sense of awareness, and we should not be complacent.
So, Doc, there are 3 crucial issues I want us to address very quickly. I know you're on a bit of a leash when it comes to time. The first one has to do with Mr. President's commitment. He is saying that he's personally going to spearhead this. The U.S. has given us some hope. But the fact is that other African countries also have vaccines that they've not used, some that they say have gone bad. And there could be some suspicion that we may be willing to take in these vaccines. Would that be a prudent move?
Well, we shouldn't take in expired vaccines, but vaccines that have not expired, that have been maintained properly, certainly, why not? If other countries are not in a position to use them up before they expire, we should be looking. I mean, right now, it's a matter of, I wouldn't call it desperation, but in some ways it is a desperate situation. And if, Ghana, we have a pretty well-defined, well thought out vaccine vaccine deployment plan. All we need are the vaccines. So if other countries cannot use up the vaccines they have before they expire, we should be getting them and then vaccinating people. We may be close to 1 million, but that's 1 million people who've only received 1 dose. We have to revaccinate that whole million. So far, Ghana doesn't have anybody. Ghana so far doesn't have anybody fully vaccinated. That is something to keep in mind. So we still have quite a bit of work.
So touching on exactly that, it is very likely now that if you got your first AstraZeneca jab like I did, you're going to now maybe have to move on to something else unless we can get more AstraZeneca. What are the implications going to be? So are we going to have to start another entire phase, maybe with Sputnik V, for example? And is it impracticable to get Johnson & Johnson into Ghana, considering our climate conditions, considering our finances now, because it appears we're willing to buy? So two main issues in there. Do you foresee that we're going to be forced to move away from AstraZeneca and start with another vaccine? And would it be impossible, as things currently remain, to get Johnson & Johnson?
I don't think it's impossible to get Johnson & Johnson. In many ways, actually, the African Union has shifted its focus and is trying to get Johnson & Johnson. That also has the advantage of being a single-shot vaccine. So I don't think it is. It's inconceivable that we could go that way. And in many ways, that might be the preferred option. But we have people who have received, the first dose. We need to give them the second dose. Possibly there is evidence suggesting that it could be Sputnik. That might work, but the data is not out yet. So right now we're a little bit of uncharted territory. I think the best thing to do is to focus on getting whatever vaccines we can. Initially AstraZeneca, to revaccinate the people who have received the first dose, and then if necessary to switch strategies and get new doses into people. New vaccines, different vaccines into people. Certainly Johnson & Johnson, I think, is one that we should consider very seriously and proceed from there.
Do you feel we've planned well enough? Because we've had discussions in the past, Doc, and we had fears, and one of them is materializing now with the Indian situation. Has our planning been good enough in terms of what is happening?
I mean, I think that you can only plan so much. I think the plan was a good plan, but obviously everybody said that there were certain risks. Unfortunately, the India pandemic has thrown a wrench into those plans. I don't think you can say we had a poor plan. We were just vulnerable, and that vulnerability is shared by many African countries in our own hands because of the lack of local capacity. So I don't think you can say we haven't planned well. I think the plan was fine, but it's a plan based on a lot of factors that were beyond our control, and unfortunately, we're beginning to pay a bit of a price for that. But I think we can still be proactive, and we can still work hard to try to do everything that is possible to protect people.
Before we take the way forward from you, I'd like you to react, and so these are the last two. I'd like you to react to what has happened at the KIA recently with Frontiers Healthcare, saying that they've actually seen the spike in cases. How do you react to that? Some have even called for the head of, the MD when it comes to the, Ghana airport company. I'm talking about Yao Kwakwa. What is your reaction to that? Are we getting something fundamentally wrong at our major airport?
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to wade into any sort of political issues. I don't think we've got any. I mean, the testing at the airport.
But it's a realistic issue. It's about if our numbers are increasing there, it obviously means there are certain things, whether from the outside or internally, that are allowing that to happen?
Well, yes, but I don't think you can blame that on the airport. It's just that externally the numbers are rising, and so there are lots of positive cases. And so these cases are now, coming to our doorstep and are being detected. I think that's all that it is. The PCR results elsewhere, yes, some may not be, there may be some issues with PCR results taken elsewhere. But it's also because we have a 72-hour window, and so somebody could, conceivably be negative when they take a PCR test and turn out to be positive when they arrive. So the fact that we are detecting this, is at least, means that, there is an increase in cases outside, and we have to keep that in mind. I don't think you can say necessarily that there's something wrong at the airport. It's just that the airport is detecting cases coming in, and so we need to be aware that there are a lot of cases on our doorstep. I think that's what you can take. I don't think you can draw any further conclusions.
Your final words, Doc, what are you looking forward to as far as our campaign against COVID is concerned? Final words.
I think we just have to, we can't be complacent. Clearly, there's a lot of, we are not out of the woods at all. We need to find ways to get vaccines into the country and vaccinate people as quickly as we can.
Dr. Bediako, thank you so much. Immensely, immensely grateful for your time this morning. Sure. And just so all of you know, he's had to do quite some gymnastics to speak to others this morning. So we're very grateful. Dr. Bediako is with WACBIP at the University of Ghana. But here's something else that is heartbreaking, really. It's been nearly 5 years since a KG block at Breman Jamra collapsed on 6 kindergarten children. After the collapse of the building, government promised to put up the KG block and the adjoining school building that was also a death trap. JoyNews' Richard Kwejonyako visited the community and returns with a story about these unfulfilled promises and children crammed like sardines in classrooms as a result.
It was in the month of February, and that day was supposed to be a beautiful Tuesday morning here at Breman Jamra. But sadly, the day turned into mourning. About 70 pupils aged 4, 5, and 6 were about to settle for studies when the building collapsed on them. 6 of them died instantly. It got the entire country talking. The education minister visited the scene of the accident in a swift manner. Government made the community a promise, pulled down a school block that also posed a grave danger to the lives of the school pupils here. It's been more than 4 years and that block hasn't been completed. Nana Kwesienin III is the Jasin of Breman Jamra.
When the building collapsed, the Minister of Education through the Minister of Education came here. They gave us a promise that they were going to reconstruct the building. Indeed, the construction started, and on my left, you can see that a project is ongoing. It's been in this state for the past 6 years or so, and the problem is that as it's being exposed, the building is exposed to the vagaries of the weather. So the sun is hitting it, the rains are falling on it, so it's weakening the structure. And if care is not taken, something untoward may happen.
Luckily, that particular KG block that collapsed on the school pupils was rebuilt by an NGO within months. But it seems government promise might take a decade or 2 to be fulfilled.
I'm here in one of the classrooms here at Breman Jamra Methodist School. See, the students are crammed in this small classroom building. This is as a result of government's inability to complete the project it started. So this is a typical classroom here, and this island is the Form 3 classroom. The room is very, very, very hot. I'm sweating, and you can look at the sweaty face of these young ones. This chair, for instance, is being shared by 3 students.
My name is Erica Fezi. When our teachers are teaching, we find it difficult to understand because we are uncomfortable. We are sitting in 3-3, so when we are being constructed, we are not able to construct it well. We want the government to continue our buildings for us so that we can be spaded.
We are feeling bad. Then we can't even write. 3 people are sharing desks and it's bad for us. We want to change. We plead the government to come and complete the building for us so that we can go and learn.
It's not only the Methodist school block here that has issues, but also the district assembly school blocks. The school blocks that are housing these school pupils are death traps on their own. There are cracks and crevices all over. The floors of these school buildings are piped, and the entire blocks have gone through patching to save them from collapsing. The school pupils here have to close whenever it threatens to rain. An opinion leader in the community, Nana Kojo Enchibuesiakon, appeals for support. He says they cannot wait for another disaster to happen.
But the unfortunate incident happened some time ago, and it was a big rainstorm which ripped off the roofing of the building, part of it. That has caused this building to be in this state. In fact, every effort has been made through the district assembly, and many letters have been written to the government to come at least to do something about the building. In fact, all has proved futile. Now, this is the state of the building. In fact, there was a KG somewhere around here, and the KG was so dangerous. In fact, it could have caused accident, as it happened some time ago. So the teachers decided to keep the children in this computer office.
Well, the DC for Isikmo Odobin Brakwa, Isaac Odum, when contacted, indicated it was due to lack of funds, and whenever there were funds available, the building would be tackled. I'm leaving the community now, hoping something urgent would be done about these dilapidated structures that are serving as places for academic activities. They are obviously disasters waiting to happen. Richard Kwejenyako, Joy News, Bremanjamra.
Pretty sad, but let's look at the solutions we can find. Isaac Odum is DC for Isikuma Odobin Brakwa, which is where the school actually is located. Mr. Odum, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
It's a pleasure having you join the conversation. And just to situate the conversation, are you aware of this school building and what has happened there over the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, thank you and good morning once again. Concerning Bremanjamra, the unfortunate thing that happened some 4 years ago, I think before the end of 2017, we were able to get some NGO to actually fix that particular school for us. So as we speak now, that school has been completed and handed over to the school for use.
So that's an interesting picture you paint, because according to our reports, that school is still in a very sad state. We're talking about the one that housed some kindergarten children, and it appears it's still uncompleted, as I'm sure if you're watching your television you can see, and it's still not exactly the kind of situation you would want for students. But is it the same school facility you're speaking of, just to confirm, Mr. Odum?
No, then maybe your reporter misquoted the whole thing. That particular school building that collapsed somewhere early part of 2017 has been fixed. A new one has been built and well commissioned by the regional minister then somewhere before the end of 2017. So if he's talking about another infrastructure that is in a dilapidated state, I don't know the kind of project he's talking about.
Well, that is very interesting information you're putting out there, because we even saw the videos a short while ago, and in a similar situation with students even being crammed in a classroom.
I don't know the kind of video you are showing now. I'm not on the TV to actually look at what is being shown. But the fact is that that school building that was collapsed has been built. A KG block has been built. It was a collaboration between the assembly and an NGO which built that particular classroom block and has been handed over to the school for use. If I may explain further, there are other school buildings that we, the assembly, have started. That's a 6-unit classroom block.
Okay.
That one is at the roofing stage as we speak. That is a 6-unit classroom block. We actually pulled down a dilapidated one and replaced it with a 6-unit classroom block, and it's at the roofing stage now. So I don't know where he picked such information from.
We'll come back to you for some clarity, but I just want to find out, how long have you been DCE?
Since for 4 years now, May 2017.
So you witnessed the collapse of that building, and
no, I came to meet it. When it collapsed in January, I became DC in May.
Right. And so what you have done about it is that you coordinated with these NGOs, like you say, and erected a new building, and you can give proof of that.
Yes, a new building, KG block, a new one, of course, was built. I started the whole process, and then they commissioned it together with the regional minister.
Okay.
And the deputy education minister was also there by then. So it was handed over to the final users.
Okay. Mr. Odom, just hold on a bit. We have Richard Kwadwo-Nyarko, who is our reporter, and we want to get what exactly the fine lines, the fine details of the situation is.
Okay.
Now, Richard, tell us exactly which school buildings you visited and whether this KG block, which crumbled back then, has been rehabilitated. We are speaking to the DCE, who says that it's been raised again. Hello, Richard, can you hear me? Richard Kwadwo-Nyarko, can you hear me? Well, it appears we don't have Richard yet. We're going to continue working the lines to get Richard to get into further details with regard to some of the schools he visited and what the specific situation is. Richard Kwadwo-Nyarko, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. So we're speaking to the DCE of Odobrin Brakwa, Esikuma Odobrin Brakwa, and he tells us that that KG building has been erected again as in fulfillment of the promise made by government. So which specific schools did you visit, and what, can you brief us again, what is the specific situation?
Well, so that particular KG block was not built by government. Government made a promise to construct a school block that was also equally in a dilapidated state. It was very close to the KG block. So when the building collapsed, an NGO came in within months and then put up that KG block. But government promised to erect that building is at the roofing stage. It's been there for more than 4 years, and that is the kind of building we are talking about. And it is in the same school. It is just some 20 meters away from where the KG building collapsed. So it is situated within the same school. So it is a promise that has been given. When I was doing the story, I called the DC, and he said that it's as a result of lack of funds, and that is why that building is there. That has culminated in the overcrowding in the same school. So you saw the videos we showed, the traditional authorities took us round, and then we went round. You saw the cracks that were also even in other school buildings within the same place. So that KG block was put up by an NGO and not the one promised by government.
Okay, Richard, just hold your horses for a bit. And Mr. Odum, I hope you're listening in. But let me engage now Nana Kwesi Enin, the third, Asantehane of Breman Jamra. Nana, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, too.
Great. So what can you tell us about, this situation? You are the traditional leader in this community. I'm sure you were there when, the initial bit happened with the KG building and moving forward. What is the reality?
Yes, the situation on the ground is this. We're talking about two separate buildings. One collapsed about 4 to 5 years ago on the school children, 6 of them perished. Then an NGO came to construct that particular one. I was there when the building was handed over. It was commissioned and handed over. Then when the incident happened, there was another building which was in a very bad state. So the Minister of Education and the authorities concerned promised that they were going to pull down that building because the tendency or the likelihood that it was also going to fall down or collapse was very high. So that building was also pulled down. And then construction started. And it's been more than 4 years now. The building hasn't been roofed. And if you saw the video when your reporter came to my palace and I took him around the school building with my elders, you could see the iron rod that is to strengthen and enhance the stability of the building, all showing, because the concrete is peeling off, so you can see the iron rods in there. Then because that building hasn't been completed, the children are now using another school building, which is not spacious enough for them. So if you saw the video, you could see that the children, under these circumstances, present circumstances that we find ourselves, I'm talking about the COVID-19 condition that we are all going through, which calls for social distancing and what have you. You could see 3 children sitting on a small desk, which hitherto should have been used by 1 people. So it became a problem for the chiefs of the town and our elders, and that is how come we reached your reporter to come and take a coverage of it for the whole world to see and to appeal to well-meaning Ghanaians to come to our aid before something happens again. That is the crux of the matter.
Okay, so Nana,
I heard the district chief executive speaking. He was saying that through the collaboration of the assembly, and the assembly has gotten the one which broke down constructed. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about one who the government promised to do for us, and it has not been done since the building collapsed. And the evidence is there. Everybody saw the videos.
Nana, thank you so much, but don't take leave of us yet. We need to work through this matter. So, Mr. Odum, I'm sure you've heard all of the discourse. So 2 things are clear. The KG building was erected again, but through the efforts of an NGO. But the promise that was made by government, that building still lies dilapidated in a way 4 or 5 years down the line. And now the students, like you saw in your shot, have been forced to go to this other classroom where they are not even observing the COVID-19 distancing protocols. And there is a threat that that building too could collapse. How do you react to that?
Yeah, I think your reporter was actually dealing with 2 different issues here.
So clarify.
What you were telling me indicated that the school building, the KG block that collapsed, has not been fixed. That was the understanding that I had. But it is untrue.
So Mr. Odum, in order not to go outside of the conversation, so let's accept these lines. The KG building collapsed. Yes. There was a promise was made because it had come down anyway, but an NGO came and worked on that facility. That is established. There's no argument there. There was a second building. There was a second building.
For them to come. And I did that as a DC.
What did you do?
No, you see, the government promised. Who is the government? The government, I am representing the president here. So you as a DC, what you need to do is to lobby, go around to see where people can actually support the such facility. And I had a support from an NGO to come and fix those burdens. The NGO didn't do it alone. It was a collaboration. We paid some 20%. They also paid 80% to get that project completed.
What is the equivalent of the 20% that you claim to have paid?
I just heard Nana talking, and I heard your reporter also talking. That project that they are mentioning, it's a 6-unit project. I personally, if we can even do your check, personally detected that the existing 6-unit classroom block there is not in good shape at all. I went there, interacted with the school authority to ask them to even move out of the class so that it could be pulled down. We pulled it down, and we have started a 6-unit classroom block there. As we speak, it is at the roofing stage. It is at the roofing stage now for completion. So if they are telling us that that burden has been there over 5, it is not true.
No, but Mr. Odum, is it not the truth? Is it not the truth, Mr. Odum? If you could just listen to me and let us have a conversation. Is it not the case that since the promise was made by government till now that the facility has not been completed and handed over, it is about 4 or 5 years? Is it not the case?
My brother, what I'm trying to say is that what the government promised has been fulfilled. The project that the government promised on that D-Day has been fulfilled by my good sir. You understand? But the new one, that's a 6-unit classroom block, came out of my own initiative, thinking that the existing one where the students are occupying is in a dilapidated state. So we need to actually pull those burden down. I did that in consultation with Nanano and the school authority. It was pulled down, and a new one has started at the same place. And as we speak, it's at the roofing stage. So I don't know why they will
let's find out what Nana
promised and government has not delivered.
Right. Let's find out what Nana thinks about this.
Been fixed.
Okay. Nana Kwesi Ening the third is Asantehane. Nana, how do you react to that?
Yes. The focus is not on the one that collapsed and an NGO came to construct it for the community. Let's give the DCA and his lieutenants the credit that they need for initiating it. We are happy for that. At least they took the initiative, and an NGO came to complete the burden for us. That is not what we are talking about now. We're talking about the one which was also in a very bad state. At the time the KG building collapsed and killed 6 children, they started that project, and I heard him saying that it has not been there for close to 5 years now. It's almost 5 years now when that building was started. But if even it's not 5 years, it's more than 4 years now. So what we are trying to say is that this uncompleted building has created a problem for our children in the community. And apart from the one which is at the roofing stage, the videos did show another building with serious cracks all over the place. I wish your producer can pull that video again. A school building with cracks all over. So if I should put it in context, yes, this is the building I'm talking about, and the view community can see it. It's there. Cracks all over. So if I should put the discussion in context, we're talking about 3 buildings. The one which collapsed, and an NGO came to put it up for the community. Then there was another one which was in a very poor state. It was pulled down. Construction was started. It is now at roofing stage. Nothing has been done. Then the third one,
which the video is on the screen now, and viewers can, see it for themselves. You can see, apart from the one which is not completed, there's the third building, which has also developed cracks all over. And Nananum, our concern is that we don't want to sit down there for another, sad event to happen. Because if you see the buildings that we're talking about, I wish we had taken shot of the one which behind my people. You can see me on the screen. Behind my elders is the one which the NGO constructed. You can see with the yellow painting. It is the only good building as of now. So the government is working through the DCE. We appreciate what he did when the building collapsed. But we're talking about the circumstances that we find ourselves in now. We need the one which is at the roofing stage to be roofed and completed. And then the third one, which is, you see, is also a death trap. You can see cracks all over. So we are only appealing to the viewing community, the viewing world, philanthropists and well-meaning Ghanaians to come to the aid of the community before the chiefs are said to have sat on our responsibilities.
Let me come back to Mr. Odum. So what do you feel is the way forward now? So now, to put it into perspective, we have 3 buildings we're looking at. One you liaised with an NGO to put up, and then there are these 2 others, which could also become death traps. I want you to address that. And can you tell me the 20% that was put in by, as DCE, your community, how much did that amount to? Can you specify?
I'm not in the office now to give you the exact figure, but what I could remember was that the entire project was, I think, 160,000 or so.
160,000?
Yes. That's what I can remember. 100, the exact figure I cannot give. Yes, what Nana is saying is true. Let me give you a picture for the district. We have 664 communities. And schools, communities that have schools, we have over 200 communities with schools. So we could see the challenges that is at hand now. Now I came to meet a whole lot of projects, uncompleted projects. As we speak, we've been able to complete almost all of them. We've completed about 90% of the ongoing projects that I came to inherit, scattered all over. Because we don't want public funds to go waste. We've been able to complete almost all of them. I'm talking about 90%. Now the 10% that is left included that of Jamra and other communities, other 2 communities. So we are left with 3 projects that I came to meet that need to be completed. Now it has been captured in our 2021 budget. So the way forward is simple, that all those ongoing projects need to be completed. But there is pressure because the communities involved, or the number of communities that we are dealing with here, there are many, to the extent that, my brother, it is not an easy...
So Mr. Odu, I get your point. Let me just intervene here.
You sit in office and there are challenges all over, and you have resources, and you close your eyes and say, I will not do it. It can never happen.
Mr. Odum, I get the picture. It's a daunting task. You have a lot to do. But just based on your own words, you say it's been captured in your budget. If it's been captured, it means allocations have been made. So can we look forward to these projects being completed this year in 2021? What are the timelines?
Yes, as I rightly said, you see, the captured project, the uncompleted one, the plan is that we have to make sure we complete all of them before new ones start. So definitely we will complete them within this year. before new ones start.
So by December this year, they should be complete. Just to have you on record.
Let me give
Mr. Odum, just to have you on record, please answer the question. So by December this year, those projects would be complete.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That by the end of this year, this project, not that the Jamra one alone, there are other 2 projects elsewhere.
Right.
That are at the same stage, and they are continuous projects. And we need to complete them before new ones start. That's what I'm trying to say. So within this year, 2021 budget, it has been captured. So these 3 projects will be completed before new ones start. So that is for the record. So we will complete them before new ones start.
Okay.
So to add up,
right.
You see, we are in a challenging community. So, for instance, Ghana Education Service has been in a dilapidated, premises, rented premises for years, since 1950-something. Now I have put up a new building for them, and they've moved to that place. You see, the offices that is overseeing the schoolings, and they are not in good condition at all. So Nana should be patient a little bit. We'll deal with the situations at hand and make sure every project that is ongoing is completed.
Nana, so I'll give you the final the final bite of this conversation. Are you satisfied? The DCE says by close of year 2021, that means by December the 31st, all of these projects will be complete. In fact, he says they have been budgeted for. Is that enough comfort for you, Nana?
No, it's been budgeted. The budget was for 2021, and by the close of the year, the implementation will have completed. It is then unfortunate to say that by the end of the year, something will be seen. Implementation of a budget starts from the inception of budget relays. So I will expect that we will see something going today. Then we will say yes, our worries are being, or our cry is being heeded to. Let me put it on record. Always supported this present government. My people have always, I'm a chief, so I don't do politics. But facts are facts. My people have always been supporting this ruling government. Then let the DCE also understand that I am a chief in the Breman Ezekuma Odobin district. But charity begins at home. I am talking about the need of my people, the people of Bremen Jamra. So at the other towns and other communities that he is superintending on, must also be helped. Fine,
okay.
I agree.
Okay.
But I am a chief, and I'm a chief of Bremen Jamra. So I am speaking for my people. I am saying that there are 2 serious buildings that needs attention, and if all the 2 cannot be done, at least one of them, the people might see something
Nana,
being done on one of them. At least the one that is at the whipping stage, the new one, can be completed for my people.
Nana,
you see,
thank you.
Not that we don't appreciate the government, we don't appreciate what the DC is doing, but it's rather unfortunate that a town that produces cocoa, we come to my town around September to November, and you will see the number of cocoa shares.
So quite a concern there, Nana. But this conversation continues, and we're grateful for your time, Nana Kwesi, Edin the Third, Asantehane of Breman Jamra. We also had, the DCE for that area, Isaac Odum, also joining, and of course Richard Kwejonyako, our correspondent there. It's a conversation that will continue. Driving safe, it's a campaign that we have, and we have a discourse this morning on vehicle certification as well as what headlamp you should be using. We go all the way to the Ghana Standards Authority where Mamavi Owusu Abwaje is standing by. Mama, if you can hear me, do take it away.
Alex, please, can you use your phone to call?
Right, so we'll be crossing over to my colleague, Mamavi Owusu Abwaje shortly. But it's a conversation about road safety, basically. And you know that in the past weeks, days, we've been honing on that very matter because the accidents on our roads are far too many. What do we do about them? We're fulfilling our responsibility in terms of educating you. We've been bringing you a lot. Yesterday, we were telling you about what to do when it's raining. We've told you about how to check your car in different forms to ensure that it is roadworthy. And today we're talking about certification, the right certification for your vehicle. What ought to be done? What are the processes to be followed? What are the standards? The Ghana Standards Authority is going to be walking us through that. We're also going to be talking about the bit to do with headlamps. It appears you would notice as you drive, some of them, especially at night, high beaming, white colored, headlamps. Apparently, those are illegal, but a lot of people have them. So what is the situation on the ground, and what should the situation be per law, per regulations? The Ghana Standards Authority regulates some of these as well. And we can cross over now to the Ghana Standards Authority where Mamavi Owusu Abwaje is.
These days, people are driving with all sorts of lights that turns to blind other road users. I have come to Tetekwashi. This is near, this is actually exactly at Shashi, opposite the golf house to the Ghana Standards Authority. So we can talk about this issue with them. And I'm sure you're wondering what Ghana Standards Authority has got to do with vehicles and headlights. Well, that's why we're here to find out. I've got the head of the Ghana Standards Authority's vehicle
unit.
Exactly, the vehicle unit. Macmillan is here to help us with this conversation. A very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Thank you for coming out of your main office to meet us. Of course, we're talking about vehicles, so we couldn't be inside your office to talk about this matter. Yeah. And first, tackle the issue of what have you got to do, Ghana Standards Authority, with the vehicles on our roads?
All right. So since 2003, the Ghana Standards Authority is responsible for ensuring the quality and safety of any high-risk good coming into Ghana. This we do under the authority of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. However, since 2019, with the development and the launch of the Ghana Automotive Development Policy by His Excellency the President Nana Akufo-Addo, the Ghana Standards Authority has been mandated to both develop standards but also ensure that those standards are being complied with for vehicle as well as vehicle components and parts. So since that 2019, this has been our responsibility to do so, and that's what we are doing.
Okay, so let's settle the score now. You have standards for a lot of things in our country today.
Yes.
Do you have standards for the vehicles that are driving right now behind you?
All right. So at present, we have about 26 standards which apply to new vehicles for just 3 categories of vehicles. Now, these 3 categories of vehicles include saloon cars, SUVs, and then light commercial vehicles like pickups, cargo vans, and also minibuses. So for any of the vehicles that fall in this category, we have standards for the whole vehicle as well as specific vehicle components which Ghana and its stakeholders decided were critical to safety and therefore should be assessed. These parts include headlamps, all lights on the vehicle, the glazing, the glass, windshield, sides, the brakes, the tires, the seat belts. These things, the seat anchorages, these are things that were deemed important for us to assess now.
Okay.
So all vehicle assemblers and as well as manufacturers for imported vehicles are required to comply with those standards in ensuring that these components meet the international standards which have been adopted by Ghana.
But that's an area that we just recently went into because we're now assembling vehicles in Ghana.
Exactly.
But how many people drive brand new vehicles?
Approximately, if we are looking, going by figures, we'll see approximately 10% of the population drive new vehicles. The average number of vehicles either coming into the country, prior to this, the assembly plants were about 10,000 to 100,000 total number of vehicles. So that's about 10%. So new vehicle to used vehicle is 10 to 9.
Okay,
yes.
So now let's talk about the rest of the people who make up the larger percentage of vehicle users or drivers. Is there a standard for the used vehicles that we import in Ghana today?
Not yet. So we are still in the development phase of a national standard for used vehicles. Now you cannot certify or homologate a used vehicle. No manufacturer would want to comply. Okay, no manufacturer would want to look to take responsibility for a used vehicle. So we are looking at a used vehicle standard for Ghana, and it should be completed this year for implementation before this year ends.
So the kind of headlights that people are using these days, and I'm putting the spotlights there because that came up strongly yesterday when we're talking about our Drive Safe campaign and when we're talking about driving in the rain or driving at night. Who controls that? I know there's the DVLA, but what's your role in this?
So on a yearly basis or probably biannually for commercial vehicles, the DVLA will continue to check to ensure that vehicles that are on the road meet the requirement to be on the road. Our role at the moment is to look at new vehicles being put onto the market or used vehicles coming into the country. What standards do they meet even before getting into the country? Now for headlights, we already have standards for the headlamps for all these three categories of vehicles that I described to you.
We already have standards?
For the new ones. Okay. So there are these standards are there. Now the component standard for headlights would apply even to a used vehicle, or more importantly, to a replacement part. So this is where we come in to ensure that the vehicle components meet the standards. So if there a lot of the times the challenge you are facing is not with the vehicle as it came in, but usually after it has come in, it probably has been certified by the DVLA the first time, and the person goes in and gets a replacement part. And then they fit it in and it's not functioning properly. Now, it could not function properly for a few reasons. It could be that there is a problem with the light source the person has purchased. He has purchased a faulty light source. Now, a typical light source will want to provide you with a beam that is focused. In fact, if you are facing like a wall, you should be able to see a concentrated portion of the light, and it shouldn't be totally diffused. So you may be purchasing a faulty light source, be it a LED, a filament, or probably a gas discharge lamp. Any of them could have that problem. A second problem has to do with the angle of that light to the ground. Now, there are specific requirements for how the headlamp should be leveled to ensure that the light is below the eye level of the oncoming driver. This as well, many a times have not been done well. A third thing that comes to mind is what lamp the person purchased. Now the lamps as you see them in the vehicles as they are passing, these lamps come in two types. They may be designed for a right-hand drive or for a left-hand drive. Now, if you are using a lamp for a left-hand drive, as we have in our country, the light on the left side on where the driver is designed such that the light emitting source focuses away from the oncoming driver. Just that one. And you realize that it's totally different from the one on the right, which spreads out a bit more. This design is intentional not to blind the oncoming driver. Now, not knowing this, the problem is that people may import and fit to their vehicles lamps which are designed for a right-hand drive, and therefore the lamp on the left side now starts to blind the driver on the opposite
side. So who has failed us then? Because there's the Standards Authority and there's the Driver Vehicle Licensing Authority.
I think it will just be, I would just say we are just at the right moment where under the leadership of the ministry, because this policy under the Ministry of Trade and Industry was introduced by the Honorable Alan Tremantin. This is what has brought up this need for us to look at the entire auto industry and see how can we correct certain things in there. So like I told you, this unit here, the GSA, is only about a year old now, and we have already been looking at the quality of vehicles being assembled. We've done that for VW, and we can guarantee to you that the lamps on those vehicles, as well as all the other components required by law, have been met, be it tires or whatever.
Which is great, except that only about 10%, as you said,
and so
will use a brand new vehicle.
Yeah, so we are making progress. As we said, we have done this, and now we are moving into, as we speak, the draft for used vehicle is already ready. We are just looking to complete it in the next few months, and then the implementation will start. The standard for the components, being the headlamps, is already existing. The implementation
but we're using it wrongly. Most of us are using it wrongly.
It's possible. So we need some education, we need some enforcement, we need some. So I think this is a great opportunity. Many listening may be hearing this for the first time and say, oh, did I buy a wrong headlamp? Did I buy a wrong light source? Did I level it wrongly? Whichever be the case. So we would start to look at not only the manufacturers, but the fitters, also looking at what can we do to ensure that this is being fitted correctly. Because if this is done well, it will not matter even how bright a light is. It should not hit the driver in the oncoming vehicle at their eye level. So if that is happening, if somebody is driving behind you and you can see a reflection of their light in your mirrors, then already you know something is wrong. The light the leveling is not done well.
Okay.
So these are the basic things that have to be done. So as we progress, we will be looking at ensuring that vehicles and replacement parts that are coming into the country meet the requirements. Because buyers cannot, at the point of sale, determine by just looking at a lamp and say, look, this lamp is one that meets national standard. We are required to do so. And we are collaborating very closely with the GVLA in our operations at the moment to ensure that we will be able to complement each other in what we do, ensure that the public have access to good quality lamps, light sources, and they are being fitted, installed correctly as well. Then on an annual basis, GVLA can ensure that people are meeting these.
So whilst you work on documentation before you go through the necessary policy protocols, I understand there's also a standard for night lighting. Maybe you can help our viewers understand that, some of the things that we can do.
So a standard for night lighting. So the standard for lights actually refer to the night, because during the day we would usually not use them.
We use it when it rains.
When it rains, and it's all because, again, you are having poor visibility. The clouds are covering, so it's becoming dark, and that is the reason for it. So these standards I have just mentioned to you, these requirements apply to both situations, that you should have this for your dipped beam, for your main beam, what we call the highlight, and then also for your fog lights as well. All of these need to provide the light intensity, have the right orientation, have the right position, also have the right leveling as well. If these things are done, your light should be able to function well. And for the sake of the viewers, many of the lamps, in fact, if not all of them, will come with a manual adjustment to be able to make these corrections to the vehicle. And if you should speak to your light installer or fitter, they should be able to help you to do this. Those with a bit of a DIY skill can check this out on YouTube, and you might be able to do this at home yourself. Park your car 25 feet from a wall, and have the vehicle laden. You should have at least half a tank full. Because what really happens is that if you have your vehicle and the lights are set, and you load the vehicle in the back, the front goes up slightly, and then the headlight starts to hit the oncoming driver. So usually experts who would try to set the vehicle lamp, we want to check what load the vehicle can take and try to load it up a bit, and then see exactly what the angle is, and then have it set. Have no problem.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, Macmillan, in the absence of any other tips that you want to give us as we drive with our personal standards until you set the national standard for those who are using already used vehicles into the country. I'd like to say thank you for your time. So if you have any last minute tips that you want to give us.
Well, I wouldn't have tips, I rather have assurances.
Okay.
That I can tell you the ministry is working hard. DVLA, the GSA, the Ghana Revenue Authority, UNIPAS, several players in the industry are currently working to make sure that other aspects of the policy are implemented for the benefit of Ghanaians. And as the months go by, you will see that these things are being implemented both at the point of entry and on the market. And I think the best thing about it for me was to actually get involved and say, look, we need this. We had the support from them. And so I'll just take the opportunity to say thank you to all the stakeholders who have made what we are doing now possible, and I hope to, working with them, we'll be able to do more.
Okay, so you're going to go back to the table to continue or bring up the issue of the used vehicles and how old they should be before we import them into the country.
Yes.
For now, we're sticking to the 10 years. If you do above 10 years, you pay a certain penalty.
At the moment, yes.
Okay. Would we see that scrapped? Is that part of the conversation?
Yes. So the conversation at the moment is that the policy should now enforce 10 years and nothing above that. So like you rightly said, previously it would have been 10 years. If it's above 10 years, I pay a fine and then I bring it in. Now the new direction will be no. If it's above 10 years, it doesn't come into the country. Another aspect that we need to look at, another aspect. And third, but not the least, of course, is the issue of salvage. Vehicles that are flooded, vehicles that have been involved in an accident and similar things, what degree of damage is acceptable to come into the country? This is another area that we as a people need to define. We do have experts, good artisans in the country to make certain repairs, but certain amount of damage affects the integrity of the vehicle no matter how you repair it. So can we come to an agreement on what amount of damage is acceptable? Is it just a mirror, a glass, or a bumper? What exactly is it that is acceptable for repair in country and what kind shouldn't come? I'm sure once we clarify these things, implementing it will be easier because we as a people have agreed, look, this is the way we are going to go.
Okay.
And then we believe things would get better.
All right, Macmillan Prentice, I wish you the very best with these conversations. They can get really tough because we know that that's major business for some importers as well. But thank you very much. He is the head of the vehicle units at the Ghana Standards Authority. It's been our Drive Safe campaign, and today you join me live from Shashi, right outside the main office of the Ghana Standards Authority. And we've been talking about standards for vehicles, brand new vehicles, those assembled in Ghana. That's no problem at all. But the issue is the used vehicles that we import. You heard from the Ghana Standards Authority. And so from me, Mama Vioso Abuaje, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Over to you, Benjamin, as we wrap up the AM show today.